the living shit out of the Indiana Fever. So Indiana Fever, and it's been my belief that they will freaking fire everyone. And I do believe this. So if you're a Fever fan and you're hoping they'll keep Caitlin Clark, it's my belief that when push comes to shove, there's no way they can let her get away. They will fire everybody and start over. That's my belief. I cannot imagine the level of fumbling the bag that would have to be done.
Caitlin Clark meant to the WNBA?
Everything. She's changed the dynamic and history forever for women.
I see a lot of young girls here today, and I see how inspired they are, and she's even gotten me back into basketball.
I think she has brought attention. She did it for us. We had never watched, and we have become big fans.
I don't think her contributions have been extreme as what people think they are. I think the league in itself has been getting better, and that's really what we should be focusing on.
I think she's brought a lot of attention to the WNBA, and it's needed.
I think it's great. I actually grew up watching the WNBA, so it's really exciting to see a resurgence.
She meant everything. I never watched it before.
What happens when a single player becomes bigger than the game, bigger than the team, and even bigger than the league itself? You get the chaotic, high-stakes, and downright bizarre drama unfolding in Indiana. Caitlin Clark, the woman who has been called a walking, talking revolution, is at the center of a storm. She is the generational talent credited with injecting $1 billion in value into the WNBA, single-handedly rewriting the future of women's sports. But this revolutionary figure finds herself in a bizarre tug of war.
In the divorce.
An example, and there's enough votes here. This is a good test to see how bad this would be. Swag put this out, and it's starting to make the rounds. I voted. Okay, Fever fans, answer this. If Caitlin leaves Fever, would you still support the Fever? We got 1,145 votes here. Nope, my bags are packed is far and away.
On one side, a legion of new, fiercely loyal fans who would follow her to the ends of the earth. On the other, a franchise and a league that seems utterly confused and at times openly resistant to the very phenomenon they should be protecting
Caitlin
at all
Clark
costs.
is a media driver. She is a ratings driver. I think about the NBA post Magic and Larry, the NBA post Michael Jordan, tennis post Serena Williams, golf post Tiger Woods, right? There are certain athletes that drive the sport more than others. And that's not to take away from anyone else drafted tonight. That's not to take away from the other incredible superstars in the WNBA right now.
The story unfolding is no longer just about basketball. It's a gripping tale of power, jealousy, money, and a revolution that has the Indiana Fever on the razor's edge, teetering between building a dynasty or orchestrating a complete and total collapse that could set the league back years. Is the WNBA's golden goose being nurtured?
And I think it's like something where if you are a star in the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark, she's probably one of the few people that anybody you can mention to somebody that knows sports will know Caitlin Clark. Yeah. She's getting a ton of deals. Coke, Gatorade, you name Nike deals. Now, I know a lot of the other players, like if you're the 12th person on the team, you're probably not making that much money, but I just feel like coming out like this, what are they going to bargain with? What is their like thing they're coming with that's going to change their salary? And that's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't understand because they're already rev sharing. The NBA already gives them money, compensates for the loss they make every year because they lose 50.
Or is she being led to slaughter by her own team? The allegiance of this new WNBA army isn't painted in the Indiana Fever's red and blue. It's branded with a single number, fans themselves. When an online poll asked a simple, terrifying question, if Caitlin Clark leaves the Fever, would you still support the team? The answer was...
There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years they didn't make a lot of money or lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money, and I got about 6 months left in the investment, and in the last 6 months they started making cash, I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner. But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum. Boy, listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise.
Gatorade stock. Is it a play on like women shouldn't?
No, they didn't do it on purpose. There's no way. How you came up with this and not in the back of your minds like, oh, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's women. She just needs to cook. Didn't think about that in the PR room.
An online poll asked a simple, terrifying question: if Caitlin Clark leaves the Fever, would you still support the team? The answer was a digital landslide. An overwhelming 81% of thousands of voters declared, "Nope, my bags are packed." This isn't just fandom, it's a hostage situation, and Clark's jersey has become the ransom note. These aren't just casual viewers who tune in for a good game. They are a converted, baptized, and fully devoted congregation in the Church of Caitlin. Most of them didn't know what a Fever was a year ago, and they couldn't care less about the logo on the court or the history of the franchise. Their loyalty is to a person, not a place. Their devotion is to the phenom, not the organization. Wherever she goes, the entire circus, the sold-out arenas, the record-breaking TV ratings, and the tidal wave of media attention will go with her. The Fever aren't her team, they are just her current address. And as the internal turmoil continues, it looks more and more like the moving trucks are already warming up.
Female bird. She had Van Slugenhagen on her. She was like, I'm offended that y'all have white defensive players guarding me, and she put her in the torture chamber. You should have known from her little face that she didn't want this matchup from the beginning. Caitlin reminds me of what Dame does. If anybody ever noticed, her first shot always a three. First quarter, second quarter, third. She sets the distance on her first shot, so you have to guard her there. Now she can do whatever she wants to do. She's playing a chess game. That's what Dame does. He starts his game off. He's gonna shoot a deep-ass three to force.
To understand the chaos, you have to understand the sheer scale of the Caitlin Clark effect. Because the numbers are so staggering, they barely seem real. One finance professor calculated that Clark was personally responsible for an astonishing 26.5% of the WNBA's entire economic activity in her rookie season alone. While she was earning a league-mandated rookie salary of just over $76,000, merchandise sales across the entire WNBA exploded by an unbelievable 500%. Television viewership for the league as a whole saw a 300% spike, a number that networks dream of. Games featuring the Indiana Fever averaged over 1.2 million viewers, with some marquee matchups shattering all-time records. Before Clark, WNBA games were often relegated to obscure cable channels. Now, they are primetime events. She is, without any exaggeration, a walking, breathing economic stimulus package for a league that has struggled for decades to gain a foothold. The league is now expanding to new cities, signing multi-billion-dollar media deals, and finally flying charter to every game. Luxuries that were pipe dreams just one season ago, all accelerated by the arrival of a single player from Iowa. Yet this unprecedented financial boom is happening against a backdrop of internal chaos and baffling decisions, making the situation in Indiana all the more infuriating to the millions who tuned in just for her. At the very center of this swirling storm of controversy is the Indiana Fever's head coach, Christy Sides. From the moment the season began, fans and seasoned analysts have been left scratching their heads at her game management, which at times seems less like a coherent strategy to win and more like a bizarre, ego-driven experiment in superstar suppression. The criticisms are relentless and specific, inexplicably benching Clark in the nail-biting final minutes of close games, a time when every other coach in history would put the ball in their best players' hands. She has publicly called Clark out for her on-court fire, criticizing her for complaining to referees too much, a strange critique for a star player known for her fierce competitiveness. Most baffling of all is the offensive scheme, which often relegates the most feared shooter on the planet to a glorified decoy, standing in the corner while less efficient players dominate the ball. in one crucial late-game stretch, Clark, the offensive engine of the team, took only 2 shots in the final 7 minutes. Side's explanation was that she thinks Clark is sometimes too unselfish. To a furious and growing fan base, these moves don't look like coaching errors. They look like either gross incompetence or, more ominously, a deliberate and calculated attempt to humble a star who has become too big, too fast. The question now echoes in every post-game analysis. Is this just bad coaching, or is it sabotage in slow motion?
She had just had 30 points and 7 threes against Washington in an amazing game. And bottom line on this is they did not want her on the team. There was either a sense that she needs to wait her turn. They wanted to give Diana Taurasi the going away present. Name another time when you would ever give an athlete a going away present with an Olympic berth. Outrageous. So Caitlin said, hey, it's okay. And in interview, she said, it's all right, I'll make it the next time. Well, in the book, I have a wonderful anecdote from then.
The resistance to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon isn't just coming from the sidelines. On the court, Clark has been forced to endure a level of physical aggression that has many, including her own teammates, crying foul. While veterans in any sport will always test a highly touted rookie, the plays against Clark have often crossed the line from tough, hard-nosed defense to outright hostility. Flagrant fouls, cheap shots, and off-ball shoves have become a regular feature of her games. The incidents are notorious, replayed endlessly on sports shows, and debated furiously online. Her own teammate, Sophie Cunningham, didn't mince words about the situation, revealing that other teams were holding locker room talks, specifically about how they were gonna show her what the W really is. Cunningham stated plainly that the physical targeting Clark receives is just too much, and that she has been forced to intervene in on-court altercations herself just to protect her. This isn't just a simple rookie initiation. It feels like a league-wide message being sent by an old guard that seems deeply uneasy, and perhaps even resentful, of the seismic shift in power and attention that Clark represents. She's not just being played tough, she's being targeted. Nothing exemplified this establishment pushback more than the shocking and widely condemned decision to leave Caitlin Clark off the 2024 U.S. Olympic women's basketball team. As the team prepared to head to Paris to compete on the world's biggest stage, the single most popular and influential name in the sport was told to stay at home. The official reasoning from the selection committee pointed to a desire to reward veteran experience, essentially giving a legacy player like Diana Taurasi a farewell tour spot over the athlete who was driving millions of new fans to the sport and breaking viewership records on a nightly basis. The decision was met with widespread outrage and disbelief from fans and the media alike. It wasn't viewed as a strategic choice to build the best possible team, but as a calculated political snub. It powerfully reinforced the narrative that the gatekeepers of the sport were not ready to hand the keys over to the new queen, no matter how much her presence would have benefited the game and her country on a global stage. Even Clark herself, who handled the situation with her usual diplomacy, admitted that being left off the team would serve as powerful motivation for the future. A polite way of saying the decision was a mistake they would come to regret.
The t-shirts don't bother me, but why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself.
I was mesmerized by her. And I will tell you this. This was the greatest performance I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, girl or boy. Greatest performance.
On this biggest stage?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because rarely does a game like this live up to its hype.
Yeah.
You know, rarely do you have the two superstars play like superstars, because you got to understand the scout report is geared to stop you. You know, all the hype coming into this is going to be people who've never watched a girls' basketball game watched. A lot of people watched for the first.
While the league and her own team seem bizarrely determined to limit her power, The corporate world has made the exact opposite bet. Caitlin Clark's personal earnings from endorsements completely dwarf her WNBA salary, a fact that highlights where the real power in this equation lies. Before even playing a single professional game, she inked a massive 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike, the richest sponsorship contract in the entire history of women's basketball, which includes her own signature shoe. That historic deal sits on top of a mountain of other multi-million-dollar partnerships with global giants like Gatorade, State Farm, and Wilson. This isn't just a player, she's a one-woman corporation, a global brand whose influence extends far beyond the hardwood. Her financial empire makes one thing crystal clear: she doesn't need the WNBA for financial security or for fame. The WNBA, however, desperately needs her. This incredible financial independence gives her the ultimate leverage, the one card that changes everything. The power to walk away without a second thought, leaving a franchise in ruins and a league scrambling to pick up the pieces. So here we stand, watching a generational phenom generate a billion-dollar tidal wave for a sport that often seems to be fighting her every single step of the way. Clark herself has admitted in interviews to feeling like the most controversial person in the world, despite doing absolutely nothing to court the drama that engulfs her every move. The situation in Indiana feels increasingly unstable, like a powder keg with a short fuse.
He's 23. I'm going to pass on that question, actually. WNBA star Caitlin Clark is transforming women's sports. She fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records. And if you watch Clark play, well, it's not hard to figure out why. She makes deep three-pointers look easy. And like all stars, wants the ball when the game is on the line.
And don't think this is all talk. These fans aren't bluffing. They've already started scouting other cities.
A superstar of this magnitude, with this much independent power, this much fan loyalty, and this many other options, will not tolerate being undermined, underutilized, or physically targeted indefinitely. The fierce loyalty of her fans is not a bug. It is the defining feature of her entire career. And if the Indiana Fever management and Coach Christie sides don't wake up and recognize that they aren't just managing a player, but a full-blown cultural movement, they will soon find themselves on the wrong side of history. The question is no longer if a breaking point will come, but when. And for the Indiana Fever franchise, her departure wouldn't just be a roster change. It would be a self-inflicted, extinction-level event. The clock is ticking. Clock is